I don't think that moms are great procrastinators overall, just because there's just so much that needs to be taken care of, especially with, like, let's say small babies. Like, you cannot procrastinate with small babies because most of it is an emergency, and when there's an emergency, there is no procrastination. However, from my personal experience, I know that when there's, especially if you're tending to children, that you are so intense at caretaking for the children, for the family, for whatever needs to be done for the clients. My industry, I work in wedding photography, so my industry is a little bit intense. You do need to have a certain personality to do wedding photography. There's a lot of intense moments, and so when your nervous system is hyped up for certain periods of time, then when the downtime comes, sometimes, yes, it is of course very important to take a break and be like, okay, this is fine. Now let's look around, like a teeny break, get a snack, whatever. But then sometimes it does turn into a little bit of procrastination, a lot of procrastination, a little bit of entitlement, be like, oh, I deserve this, like doom scrolling at night. Oh, I did not get any moments for myself throughout the day, so this is my obvious time for myself. And so sometimes I feel like that turns into procrastination. And when I don't want to say that moms are, like, I'm talking about myself all the time. This is my personal experience applied to Bible. But I know, like, overall, am I seeing the patterns a little bit? Can this be helpful to somebody else? What I'm trying to say here is that overall, moms are not, you cannot say that any mom would be a procrastinator. But there are moments that if we were to be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more aware, a little bit more centered on the Bible and how Bible approaches life, then it would be a little bit easier for us to manage life and family and jobs, and hopefully life would be a little bit better. So let's talk about it. Hello, my name is Yana. I am, as I mentioned, I'm a working mom of 4. I'm also a wife and a house owner. So life is busy, life is a lot. There is always a lot to take care, which do I complain? I don't complain too much. Sometimes we'll talk about this when the moments of complaints come. That is the signal that something is wrong. You probably bit off a little too much. Yes, we can talk about our family members, that they're not helping us enough. Is there partnership within your family life? Is your spouse helping enough? That is the thing. You cannot force another person helping you. So evaluate what it is happening in your life and then see, are you overwhelmed too much? Did you bite off too much? Whatever is happening, always tangents, you guys, I always go on a tangent. So random. Let's focus on procrastination before we talk about the workload and what it is that we need to be doing with the workload based on your situation. So procrastination. I find myself right now in the very busy season of my photography business, and I am okay, not okay, like it's a lot. I just have a lot of things that needs to be processed. And I question myself, have I procrastinated on doing certain things that could have been set up so that right now I can fully focus on work and would not have to be doing like extra little things here and there? And the answer is yes. You can always be more prepared for the known emergencies that are coming your way. Like if you're about to have a baby, you know, at least to a degree, you do not fully know what it is going to be happening with your life, but you know that your life is going to be busy. Like you will not be able to do certain tasks that you normally are able to do. Same thing with me. With wedding photography, my industry is super seasonal. And even people who are in the industry, sometimes you book what you book and then you perform on whatever you are taken. Yes, some people are in the spot where they can reject certain bookings and say, oh, I have 2 weddings already this weekend, I'm not going to take a third one. And that is all, like, it's too much for me. Some people say I will never take 2 weddings on the weekend. I only do 1 wedding a weekend, and I will never take 2. However, because it is, if you have never done photography, wedding photography, it is a really, really hard job. And doing 2 weddings in a row is really hard. Doing 3 is even harder, physically, emotionally, mentally. And then your managing client expectation is also really difficult, because everybody wants to see their photos soon, very quickly. And so some people are able financially, their marketing, the way their bookings are coming in, they can say, I'm not going to do it. Well, I am not in the spot. Thankfully, I give all appreciation to God. I probably do not do enough marketing that I should be doing enough marketing, but thank God He allows me to book the amount of weddings that sustain our family, whatever the financial need with our family, it gets filled in. I'm very pleased. I'm very grateful for the bookings that I have. However, all of them this year, and I think it's God testing me again, refinement. God allows the things to come into our lives to question us, so that we can question our approach to life and what it is that we're doing. So this year for me, my bookings are I do not have control over it. My bookings are incredibly uneven. I am literally working for, as far as I know right now, it's really early in the year, and I did say that I know I am claiming that there will be more bookings coming in throughout all of the other month that I do not have bookings. But so far, like on practically, I am working 4 months out of the year, making full-time income for the year, my yearly income. And so basically, can you imagine earning your income, your annual income in 4 months? And yes, correct. My marketing is accounted for, so I do not have physical capacity to do a lot of marketing throughout this month, though. Other like months that are way lighter for going out and photographing, like actually working with clients, will be focused on marketing. But actual taking photos for me is literally April, May, and then August and September, as far as I see right now. Yes, I do see a little bit of inquiries coming in for June, and I do see God filling in a teeny bit here and there, so that I'm not super bored and stuck in the house, not doing any like photography work. But obviously with wedding photography, there's always work like admin and emails and marketing and whatever. The point, this is like a very long example of me trying to tell you that, is this my choice that there is a season of life that is incredibly unbalanced? We're all, that's why sometimes I'm so a little jealous of the work outside the home moms, that you just go out, you do your job, you come home, and then you don't think about it anymore. You know your routines, you have the predictability of life, you have at least like a lot of control over your life. In my life, it's incredibly flexible. And do I have control? Of course. Like, I do know that a wedding is coming up, and I have the expectation that there will be a week afterwards dedicated fully to processing the photos. And everybody's jobs are a little bit different. I feel like a lot of people work gigs, and like, you do know that this is the time to pay more attention to your work, and this is hopefully the week off when you can pay attention to your household management, any other like additional projects and whatever else that you want to be doing. But what is this, my example, the extreme situations? Do we know that they're coming? Are we doing good enough job to prepare for them? Sometimes I feel like we still procrastinate on getting to the actual preparation, setting ourselves up for success for those expected emergencies or expected busy seasons of life. And and obviously there is also like busy seasons or busy days. You know that a day will be so busy, and like you should take a couple days ahead of time to prepare yourself for that busy day and maybe a couple more days of like recovery after that busy day. So going to the Bible about the procrastination, about delaying things, about being swift with our work and like be hasty. Is that the proper way to say it? In the Bible, there are a few examples of delaying being a good thing, being a God thing. When God delays, He tests us. He allows us to come to the moment where we feel uneasy with the delay. And when we either start acting out of our impulses and sinful nature and not in lack of trust to God. And so those are the situations when God is testing our trust into Him. But then there's also a lot of examples when we delaying because of procrastination. And so let's read a couple of verses here and let's talk through a couple of examples here. So Matthew, and I will be reading like a slightly bigger passages just because I feel like just one verse with that specific mention of the word of delay sometimes doesn't give us full context, and understanding the story is helpful. So let's do this. Matthew chapter 24, verses 45 through 51. Hi, baby. Are you coming to come sit in my lap? Just be careful with the microphone, okay? So, who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Oh, I think he's talking about a mother giving them food in due season. David, did Mama give you breakfast on time today? Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm a good servant, at least in this area of life, getting food to my people. Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming. So the master is not here. He is the one procrastinating. He is the one taking his time. So I have all the time in the world. I can also delay on doing the good work. And begins to beat his fellow servants, to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant, so God, will come on a day when he is not looking for him. So when the servant is not looking for the master. And at an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. Then shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Obviously, deep biblical truth. Again, I always say I'm not trying to minimize the spiritual truth that Bible tells us. Yes, first of all, they need to be applied spiritually to our lives and our submission of our trust, faith and trust in Jesus Christ, number one. Number two, a natural consequence of that is, be careful, a natural consequence of that is to make our lives being submitted to God and doing what He says, not just saying that we believe, but acting on our faith. So our lifestyle is in accordance, be careful with the microphone, baby. Our lifestyle is in accordance that looks like we are obedient to God. But right now I'm again minimizing it, simplifying it, taking it to I'm applying it to household management, life management for the day-to-day tasks. So what did we just read? If you think you have all the time in the world to... David, you elbowed me in the face. That kind of hurt. I need a kissy because that kind of hurt. My cheek. Cheek, right there. You elbowed me right there. Thank you so much. So The application is, if we think we have all the time in the world to get things done, and then unexpectedly, it always is unexpectedly. Have you noticed that when we have something we know that the project, the due date is coming up, the something that is coming up, seems like that we know, but somehow we're always tricked when we delay, when we do not things right away. Charge the batteries for my cameras right away in the beginning of the week. Then Saturday comes, everything is done. But then, oh no, Friday, will I have enough time to charge my batteries? Will I have time to compile my timeline and send it out to my assistants and second photographers? Well, not everything is dependent on me with the timeline, because sometimes it's also the brides and grooms coming back to me, their schedule mixing up with mine. Cooking the meal, cleaning the house, having people over, laundry, everything comes to, have we done it ahead of time? The secret to good life management is doing things before they need to be done. Doing things ahead of time. Clean your house before it's dirty. Cook your food before you're hungry. Prepare your job tasks before they need to be submitted, or like that's the last week to do them. This is the secret, and Bible keeps telling us this over and over again. Be good with your implementation before the judgment of God comes. Repent of your sin and follow God's law, God's commandments, God's statutes before we stand before Him, before the judgment comes. This is like the long term, the longest term planning. Here on earth, we do time management day to day, week to week, year to year. But don't not forget, you also have to remember that the most long-term planning is the eternity. When we die, we stand before God, and then we have to account for what it is that we have done. Start with that. The most long-term point is standing before God, and for eternity. Have you been good steward? Can God trust you with the management of everything else? And then based on that long-term goal for your time management, plan accordingly to a year, a week, a month, to today. Matthew chapter 25, verse 1 through 5. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened, careful baby, that's my Bible, shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet bridegroom. Beautiful, very fascinating parable that talks about the second coming of Jesus. I highly recommend, go look up the channel for Pastor John Bevere. He recently has a book coming out about second coming of Jesus. Watch his recent sermons, this series about second coming of Jesus. Fascinating, so good, so applicable. I encourage you. So now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels and their lamps. So the foolish ones procrastinated on getting oil. They did not buy their oil. And the wise ones did it way ahead of time. They don't even know when the groom is showing up. They have enough oil for a year or whatever, because the Jewish tradition, it's the engagement, betrothal is different than engagement, because they're married but not living together for around a year or so, like a really long time. And they had enough oil with them to keep them going. I do not know how they organized it. They somehow found a way to organize things. And so, but while the bridegroom was delayed, again, the father of the groom, God, Jesus, he delayed him. And they all slumbered and slept. And then what happened next? The bridegroom came unexpectedly after his delay. They thought that the delay is for them, but the delay is to test them, to see if they're ready. Are they procrastinating, or are they being proactive And are they doing things ahead of time before they need to be done? Psalm 119, verses 57 through 64. You are my portion, O Lord. I have said that I would keep your words. This is my promise to God, that I will keep his commandments. Whatever he told me to do, I will do this. God gave me the children. So the natural for me is that I have to take care of the children. God gave me the husband. The natural for me, according to God, is to take care of my husband. God gave me the house. The first, my domain, immediate domain is my house. The natural promise to God is that I will take care of it. You are my portion, Lord. I have said that I would keep your word. I entreated your favor with my whole heart. Be merciful to me according to your word. I thought about my ways and turned my feet to your testimonies. I made haste ahead of time and did not delay to keep your commandments. God is allowed to delay all he wants. My job is to keep his commandments, to follow his rules, to follow his orders, and to make haste and do not delay. The cords of the wicked have bound me, but I have not forgotten your law. No matter the obstacles, we do what we have to do. At midnight, I will rise to give thanks to you because of your righteous judgment. Wow, I hope I never have to stay up to midnight, but if you do have to do things at midnight, you do what you have to do. I am a companion, not to say that you do not need self-care. God does want you to be wise with your bodily vessel, physical vessel, with your body. You have, this is one of the responsibilities, is for you to make sure that you're physically okay, because this is God's temple. I guess this is your first domain. House is second domain. This is the physical body, is the immediate temple of the Holy Spirit. So you better be taking care of your body, and sleep is the first one. However, on a rare occasion, you have to do whatever that you have to do, taking care of the babies, photograph the wedding until midnight to make the money to sustain your family and to sustain your community with your donations. You have to do what you have to do, but you also need to remember that overwhelming yourself with tasks is also sinful. It's like mistrust, distrust to God, lack of trust to God when you take on too much and you think that that is the only way to sustain life. No, do hard work that God entrusted you with, but also remember that you do not have to be irresponsible with your physical body. I'm a companion to all who fear you. So I make friends with godly people and of those who keep your precepts, because your friendships do affect what you think. So make Jesus your first and foremost friend. Hang out with him more than with any other friend. And then make out the friendships are a blessing from God. Having good friends is so good. But as I mentioned in my couple other videos, sometimes God removes certain things. Sometimes it feels like a desert because he wants you to prioritize him first as your source, your best friend, your best provider, your best sustainer, your best caretaker, your best emotional support. He's number one. And then make other friends, godly friends. But that also does not mean that you have to, you know how they say, people that you surround yourself. Maybe it's the people who speak, that's a better phrasing. People who speak into your life and who you'll listen to should be the godly people. You cannot remove yourself from the world. We are not of this world, but you cannot remove yourself from the world, because otherwise, what kind of witness is this? How can you witness to somebody? How can you minister to somebody? God says your enemies, you serve them, you love them, you pray for them. So does it mean that you do not need to have wise boundaries, correct boundaries for how they affect your life? But at the same time, there is only so many boundaries that you can set until you completely lose touch with people, and then you completely have no influence or say, like witness any light, any salt leaching into their lives. So it's a fine balance between protecting yourself, and I guess that maybe that also depends on how much trauma you have, because some people, if you're traumatized, if you have not been fully healed, ask God for restoration. God restores all the wounds, but it does take time. Wounds do heal, like when you cut yourself, some wounds take longer than others to heal. And so if you are traumatized with certain things, be wise so that you do not is that the way to say, do not harm yourself, harm your wound, so that to the point where you cannot heal and it's like infected and terrible. But if God restored you, now it's your time to minister. So it's a wise balance between re-traumatizing yourself when you are still sick and not healed, versus just being selfish and you are strong and healthy and vibrant, but you selfishly don't want to spend time with people who might be unpleasant, might be ugly. Because we're not created for ugliness. We don't want to experience unpleasantness. God created us for beauty. That's why even in God's temple, He put in palm trees and flowers and like pomegranates. God created us for beauty. And yes, sometimes it's really hard for us to experience the ugliness. But that is the way sometimes for us to get an ability to speak into another person's life. Yes, Jesus preached onto everybody. He had meals with mostly people who wanted to listen to him. Not everybody approved of what he was doing, because there were multiple examples when Jesus said, you did not wash my feet, you did not provide washing of my feet, you did not anoint my head with oil, which was a customary thing for their culture. That was the norm. So some people hosted Jesus without being nice to him. And he still shared his time with those people. He was very strict with how he spoke with the Pharisees, like the political leaders, the religious leaders. He was very strict with how he spoke with them. But he did share plenty of meals with the people who were curious to hear what he had to say, as well as might not have been like super duper nice to him. That was such a long tangent. Let's finish reading. The earth, O Lord, is full of your mercy. Teach me your statutes. So what is it? Do not procrastinate on doing what God told us to do. And the last one, is this the last one? Yes, kind of the last one. The Proverbs 10:26 should be applied to myself and also should be applied to people around us. Because we are not the only ones. You are not a lonely doer of your life. There's always people around you, either your children or your spouse, your partner, or your people who are helping you around. Applies to all the workers in life. So as vinegar to teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the lazy man to those who send him. A lazy man is not exactly procrastinator, because he might be the procrastinator, and also Davey, you're messing up the microphone, and he also might be a terrible worker, because the quality of work also counts. Some people procrastinate and then do a really good quality of work, but they're just like super stressed out, and that affects their attitude. A lazy person is probably both the procrastinator as well as a terrible quality of work. And the combination of both is terrible. It like hurts your teeth. If you have sensitive teeth and you eat something sour, it's like a terrible feeling. If you know, you know. If you don't, then it's hard for you to understand. However, you have, I'm sure a lot of us have experienced the smoke to your eyes. It's like you cry, you want to go away from that place and location, you want to avoid it at every cost. That's a very unpleasant, incredibly unpleasant experience to deal with something like this. So when people do terrible quality of work, it's not good. And so when we're teaching our children, those are the things to explain. And also, obviously, as I mentioned, you're not the only person doing the work, probably, in your household. You're probably not the only one. There's either older children that you assigning them tasks, or your spouse helping you with house management and whatever, the life management. And so, number one, asking is important, because without you asking, people will not know to do it. Number two, sometimes that's the thing, the quality of work sometimes can be very subpar, very much not according to your standards. That comes with communication, teaching. And another thing is, if you cannot reach the quality of work that you expect, that you need for like hygiene reasons, for health reasons, for emotional reasons, because the mess also affects you emotionally. I wonder if it affects you spiritually. I wonder if the clutter is spiritual. I mean, everything is a spiritual problem. So if it affects you, there is something that should be fixed. So if the quality is not there, then it means that you will have to do it. Well, because who else is going to do it? If your children or your spouse or whatever, you ask them to do a certain thing and then it's not done. So then, yes, they do as best as they can. And then it would be up to you to finish the task, to finish scrubbing, to show them one more time what it is that you need for that specific task. And then here the frustration kicks in, that you already, that's the thing, procrastination. If things were not done ahead of time, before they needed to be done, then you also will get frustrated, because now the deadline is coming up, the guests are coming over, or the time to go to sleep and things are not tidied up, or I have to send away the photo gallery to my clients and my photos are not fully finished, they're not fully edited, but then I also have a mess of a house, everything is like, the meal is not cooked for our dinner, so, and whatever, the laundry is not finished or whatever, so there's just like a lot of things that come in together. And so my conclusion is, do things ahead of time, to the point that if they need to be redone after if the family member did not complete their task, if you have to redo them, you should be able to do them according to the standard. So do that ahead of time, as well as do not take on more than you can carry. It would be great if it would be a way to fully set your life, to communicate everything that you want done. And let's say my example, can I communicate with my husband that, I'm going to have like this many weddings, So could he please like cook for those days or clean for those days or like do whatever? Sometimes I cannot fully communicate all of my workload. Sometimes he might have his workload that he's not able to also fit in the family workload. And so there will be moments when things will not be fully done to, let's say, how I want them to be done. Let's just talk about that scenario, because like obviously there are many scenarios for what he wants to get done, what children want to get done, what extended family wants to get done, and whatever, many elements there. But the thing is, two things: doing things ahead of time without procrastinating, do things before they need to be done with good attitude. And when things are not done, remember to still keep the good attitude, because now that is the test and the lesson of God for you to teach you that procrastination is bad, and doing things ahead of time without delay, do things with haste ahead of time. That is the proper way to do it. But the heart is also very important, because if you sinned once with your procrastination, that doesn't mean that you have to sin for the second time and also lose your temper and be frustrated righteously or unrighteously. Sometimes you are angry for a reason. Sometimes the frustration is there for a reason. However, what is it? The wrath of people do not do the righteous of God. God's wrath is always righteous. He is long suffering, so he's delaying with his wrath for a long time. He should have been pouring fire and sulfur on us probably earlier than he will, because the end of the world is coming, and so his wrath will come onto this world, and the judgment will come for everything that was not done according to what he said. He said it for our good, for the good of our neighbor, and we're not doing it. We are procrastinating on doing good. But our wrath, they act upon anger. Anger is the emotion when something is wrong, when there is pain, frustration, something is bad. The anger, we feel the anger. That's the feeling. The wrath is the acting upon the destructive, the words, the throwing, the hitting, the whatever. So the wrath of me will never do justice. So no matter how angry I feel, justifiably or not justifiably, is it somebody else's fault that I'm angry? Maybe. Is it my fault that I'm angry? Maybe. It doesn't matter. The wrath should not be. And that is all. I hope that made sense to you guys, that doing things ahead of time before they need to be done, washing your floors before they need to be washed, doing your dishes before the sink overflows, doing your laundry before your kids' wardrobes are empty, doing that client project for your client before it's due. That is the God recommended way to do it, so that you are not the lazy person who is like a vinegar to your teeth and the smoke to your eyes. Because when you are doing this to yourself, you're basically frustrating yourself, and that's like not a good way to live. So my encouragement for you today, and a reminder: do things before they need to be done, and always keep the good attitude and good heart. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and God willing, I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.